Section 1. The shocking lawsuit. Kevin Hunter, the former husband of iconic talk show host Wendy Williams, just dropped a legal bombshell, filing a staggering $250 million lawsuit demanding Wendy's immediate release from what he claims is an abusive and exploitative guardianship. In court documents filed in New York federal court, Hunter boldly accuses Wendy's court-appointed guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, along with banking giant Wells Fargo, former financial advisor Lori Schiller, and ex-manager Bernie Young of turning the guardianship into a weapon, not a shield. Hunter asserts Wendy is currently suffering under neglect, fraud, and abuse, with her guardians allegedly exploiting their positions for financial gain. This lawsuit, which aggressively targets Wendy's guardian and former associates, portrays a shocking scenario. Wendy Williams, one of America's most recognizable television personalities, allegedly confined against her will and cut off from meaningful contact with friends, family, and even her own phone. But how did Wendy Williams, once at the peak of fame and fortune, end up here? What exactly went wrong behind closed doors? Keep watching, because the details you're about to hear next only deepen this disturbing mystery. Section 2. Guardianship or imprisonment. According to court filings, Wendy Williams isn't just under guardianship. She's allegedly being held captive. Hunter claims Wendy is involuntarily confined within Coterie, an upscale senior living facility in New York City that specializes in memory care. Despite its luxurious facade, the lawsuit portrays it as little more than a prison, with Wendy stripped of her basic freedoms. Documents assert Wendy has severely restricted access to her own phone, limiting meaningful communication with friends and family members who could support or advocate for her. Even more troubling, Hunter states explicitly in the lawsuit, the guardianship serves no therapeutic purpose, no protective function. It is punishment, pure and simple. In other words, Wendy's supposed protectors are allegedly the ones harming her, isolating the beloved television personality from the outside world and silencing her voice in the process. But how did Wendy Williams end up trapped in this luxury facility against her wishes? To find the answer, we need to explore the role played by Wells Fargo and how the bank set this entire guardianship in motion. Section 3, the Wells Fargo connection. Everything started unraveling for Wendy Williams when Wells Fargo suddenly froze her financial accounts in January 2022. The bank flagged suspicious activity, claiming concerns about Wendy's ability to handle her own money responsibly. In fact, it was Wells Fargo who recommended to the courts that Wendy be placed under guardianship, opening the door to what Kevin Hunter now describes as a complete financial takeover. The lawsuit doesn't hold back. It directly accuses Wells Fargo of ignoring critical banking policies, allowing Wendy's guardian Sabrina Morrissey to liquidate assets and transfer substantial funds unchecked. Allegedly, despite having total control over Wendy's fortune, Morrissey failed to keep up with Wendy's financial obligations, leaving many of her bills unpaid and responsibilities neglected. What initially seemed like a protective move by Wells Fargo may have turned into a financial nightmare for Wendy Williams. But the accusations don't end there. What's next is even more disturbing, as former trusted associates are accused of exploiting Wendy's vulnerability for their own financial gain. Section 4, exploitation and fraud. Wendy Williams' inner circle is now under intense scrutiny, facing serious accusations of financial exploitation. At the heart of this scandal are Wendy's one-time financial advisor, Lori Schiller, and former manager, Bernie Young, both accused of taking advantage of Wendy's vulnerable state to secretly siphon off thousands of dollars from her accounts without her knowledge or approval. According to Hunter's lawsuit, Wendy was reportedly pressured into accepting the guardianship under severe emotional strain and financial duress. Allegedly isolated and overwhelmed following her divorce, Wendy trusted these advisors with her financial affairs, but court filing suggests that trust was betrayed. The lawsuit paints a dark picture of manipulation and deception, claiming Schiller and Young abused their access, turning Wendy's wealth into their own personal fund. But perhaps the most chilling accusation is that Wendy herself was kept unaware, unable to intervene or even fully understand the scope of the betrayal unfolding behind the scenes. And yet, despite allegations of Wendy's declining mental state, the lawsuit asserts something shocking. Medical evaluations reportedly confirm Wendy is competent. So why is she still trapped in guardianship? The details coming next might leave you speechless. Section 5. Medical competency ignored. Perhaps the most alarming detail of the entire lawsuit revolves around Wendy's actual medical condition. Court documents filed by Kevin Hunter assert something stunning. Wendy Williams underwent a formal competency evaluation as recently as March 2025 and was officially declared competent, alert, and oriented by healthcare professionals during welfare checks. Yet despite these evaluations and despite medical experts reportedly affirming Wendy's ability to make her own decisions, the guardianship has remained firmly in place. Hunter's lawsuit boldly accuses Wendy's guardians of deliberately ignoring medical recommendations, continuing to medicate and restrict her unnecessarily. The question becomes clear. If medical professionals agree Wendy is fully capable of managing her life, why are her guardians continuing to hold her against her will? The lawsuit goes even further, calling the guardianship a form of fraudulent bondage, alleging Wendy is not only unfairly restricted but actively harmed by those who claim to protect her. But why was Wendy Williams vulnerable to this alleged manipulation in the first place? The shocking truth connects directly to the emotional aftermath of her dramatic and highly publicized divorce. Section 6. Life after divorce. Spiraling without support. When Wendy Williams' marriage to Kevin Hunter collapsed in 2020, the fallout wasn't just emotional, it triggered a devastating financial and personal spiral. The lawsuit vividly describes Wendy as being suddenly thrust into managing complex financial and medical decisions alone, tasks that Hunter claims she had always relied on him to handle. Hunter alleges Wendy struggled immensely during this period, overwhelmed by both grief and the daunting reality of her rapidly unraveling personal life. Court documents emphasize Hunter's claim that without his experienced oversight, Wendy became vulnerable, isolated, and ultimately exposed to manipulation by those around her. Adding to this emotional turmoil was Hunter's own infidelity, having started a family with another woman before their divorce was finalized, a betrayal that deepened Wendy's distress. According to the lawsuit, it was during this fragile state that Wendy fell prey to those now accused of exploiting her vulnerability. But if Wendy's personal troubles made her vulnerable, her professional advisors were supposed to protect her. Instead, the lawsuit accuses them of negligence and malpractice, an allegation detailed further in the claims you're about to hear next. Section 7. Allegations of negligence and malpractice. Hunter's lawsuit goes beyond personal grievances. It levels serious, detailed allegations of professional negligence, malpractice, and blatant violations of Wendy Williams' legal rights. In total, the lawsuit lays out 22 separate charges against Wendy's guardians, former advisors, and Wells Fargo, alleging negligence, breach of fiduciary duty, professional malpractice, and defamation, among other offenses. Court documents directly accuse guardian Sabrina Morrissey of managing Wendy's affairs incompetently, failing to pay critical bills, and neglecting Wendy's financial obligations. Wells Fargo faces similarly severe accusations, allegedly allowing unchecked asset liquidation in violation of their own internal policies, essentially permitting Wendy's fortune to slip away. Further shocking accusations include violations of Wendy's rights under the Americans with Disabilities Act, unlawful isolation, and suppression of her freedom of speech and access to courts. Hunter's claims, if proven true, paint a disturbing picture of professional failure and misconduct at multiple levels, with Wendy trapped at the center. These explosive claims culminate in accusations of enormous financial losses and severe reputational damage, losses so substantial they're almost unbelievable. What exactly did Wendy Williams lose? The details will leave you stunned. Section 8. Massive financial losses and reputational damage. The lawsuit makes a staggering claim. Wendy Williams has allegedly lost approximately $20 million per year due to this ongoing guardianship nightmare. And that's just the beginning. Hunter asserts Wendy's guardians and former advisors didn't merely mismanage her wealth, they systematically dismantled it. Court documents specifically list enormous financial losses. Wendy's $80 million estate, her luxurious $4 million condominium, and personal belongings valued at over $10 million, all allegedly diminished or mismanaged while Wendy herself was trapped and unable to intervene. But beyond the financial devastation, the lawsuit underscores something equally devastating: severe reputational harm. Wendy Williams' name, built over decades of hard-earned fame and respect, has been irreversibly tarnished by the scandal, isolation, and exploitation alleged by Hunter. His suit demands accountability and restitution, seeking $250 million in damages to repair the financial and personal havoc inflicted on Wendy's life. But will this lawsuit finally liberate Wendy Williams? Or is this only the beginning of a much longer battle? The answers remain uncertain, but the implications for Wendy and perhaps guardianships nationwide are immense. This explosive $250 million lawsuit filed by Wendy Williams' ex-husband, Kevin Hunter, doesn't just expose shocking allegations, it raises disturbing questions about guardianship itself. Wendy Williams, once an unstoppable force in entertainment, now stands at the center of a legal storm that could redefine how guardianships are viewed nationwide. Has Wendy been unjustly confined and financially exploited, or is there more to this complicated story than meets the eye? As these startling claims move through the courts, one thing is clear: Wendy's fight could have far-reaching consequences, shining a spotlight on the shadowy world of guardianships. What happens next remains uncertain, but Wendy Williams' story is far from over, and the world will be watching closely.